You in particular have talked a lot about the sort of historical background, how this epic emerges at this time based on this earlier material. But we, of course, are reading it today, and it seems, I am convinced, by it very tightly and dramatically constructed. It feels very modern in some sense, and it raises the question of the difference between this epic and novels, the kind of standard long prose narrative we know today as the novel. What happens if we look at the Epic of Gilgamesh through the lens of the novel and the expectations of a novel?
No, that's a great question. One of the things that interests me a lot as world literature travels outside its original time and place is that there's a double process. Certain things can get revealed that the original audience wouldn't see in the same way. It can take in a new kind of life in a new context. And also we have the responsibility to not just impose our values on it. Often, you'll see something, why is that there? Why is this repetitive? Or why aren't we told what's in someone's mind? So we expect certain things out of a novel, like a lot of interior monologue, a lot of dialogue that explains motives. Also, the novel has arisen primarily as a bourgeois form. We expect it to deal with middle class and upper middle class life, or for really political and edgy lower class life. Very few novels are purely in courts, dealing with upper class life, rarely the case. Whereas with Gilgamesh, as with Homer, you have next to no interest in common people. There's no such thing as a middle class. So that one of the things we have to see is that motivation, so in a sense, we really see it is very modern. We connect to it immediately. We can see a lot that just we read like, the sort of fraught friendship, competition, almost romance between Gilgamesh and Enkidu. We sort of get that.
Did you say romance or bromance?
It could be a bromance. It could absolutely be a bromance. In fact, I believe, I follow the seriologists who think, when Gilgamesh has a dream about something going to happen to him at the beginning, he dreams of an axe falling down. The term for axe in Akkadian is a pun on a term for a male lover, a homosexual lover. So there's a little bit of suggestion of more than just romance, more than just friendship in this bromance. One thing we should see is we're mistaken to say, oh, these people aren't giving us long speeches about their motives, so they don't have them. Clearly the events are motivated. So then what takes the place of that in this very economical scene and setting? So that one of the things that's very interesting about this epic is a lot of the psychology is moved through dreams. Now, we could view this in a Freudian way. We understand dreams. In that sense, the modern reader may get something fresh and new out of these dreams that the ancient reader wouldn't. For the ancient reader, it might just be a plot device. We sort of understand the kind of psychological depth, and Freud was very, very interested, of course, in ancient dreams that he knew primarily from the Greek tradition. But like the Greeks, the Mesopotamians thought that the dreams are one of the main ways that the gods communicate to people, and that you might learn about the future. They have a predictive quality. So it's not novelistic in that there's a lot of foreshadowing of things that we intuit either the gods know or the dreams tell us if we can learn how to interpret them. It's also the case that when you get mundane details, it's not serving the kind of realism effect that we know from the novel, where you just want a lot of stuff in Balzac's rooming house so you feel like, oh yeah, it's well portrayed, it's three-dimensional. So
precisely because all of these details are not necessary for the plot, right? That's the reality effect.
Yeah, it's almost a conspicuous consumption of information, of detail. The reality effect needs the gratuitous or the symbolically right. I mean, so they're really good. It looks gratuitous, but then you realize, oh, that golden bowl turns out, nonetheless. So we see the seeds of this in which when you get these concrete details, they're very pregnant. They serve a purpose, like that door bolt covered with dust. It's not just describing the landscape, it's telling you something. So we have to kind of read and keep in mind that this is a poem. It's not a long prose work, and that each word is chosen poetically and sort of reads that way. Probably it's also different from a novel in that it's not so much about psychological development. I don't think Gilgamesh changes as a personality. He just has to learn how to behave. To some degree, he has to grow up. He just has to sort of come to understanding, but it's not exactly, it is something to control himself, restraint, rather than something else. And also very different from the novel. So many novels are about breaking out of your background, lighting out for the territory or coming and conquering Paris. This is the very opposite, right? This is about how do you hold together the center that you're already in.
what you said about psychology is very interesting. So there's one of the signature scenes when Enkidu prevents Gilgamesh from raping the bride of one of his underlings and challenges him, and that's when they become friends. But in that moment, we are not told why Enkidu would do that. There's no motivation supplied, nor are there dreams. And what I find striking about the reticence, the fact that the epic doesn't tell us about the motivation, is that we as readers can think about it, can project motivation into that blank space in a certain way. It does really engage and activate the reader in an interesting way, that we just get the actions, and it's us who has to supply the motivation in reading this text.
Absolutely.